Google versus Oracle. It's the gift that keeps on giving, kind of like that canker sore that just won't go away. The two companies returned to court for the second time after their first bout resulted in a hung jury and a retrial. As a refresher, Oracle charges that Google is using 37 Java APIs in Android without proper arrangements, and as such should be paid damages. They're saying upwards of around $9 billion for copyright infringement. Oracle opened by kind of painting a picture of Google knowingly skirting the licensing issue in order to, basically reap massive revenue to the tune of $42 billion off of 3 billion activations. Google says that Android was built with the hard work, or stressed that it was built with the hard work of its engineers, and its use of Java is fair use. That's his point. That was his point last time, and that's kind of what he's going after now. Google also points out that Oracle was supportive of its use of the code very early on, and for quite a while as Android was maturing, including then CEO of Oracle, Jonathan Schwartz, who supported Google actually during their previous trial and will be supporting Google during this trial again. And so that all started up again today. Eric Schmidt was also called to the stand, obviously Google's former CEO, current Alphabet chairman. And he just really, again, stressed that positive relationship that Oracle and Google shared when Android was beginning. They were romping through the field of flowers together. And then something happened and they stopped calling. I don't know.
Can I just say how nicely you explained that entire thing, by the way?
Oh.
It was very nicely relayed. I just want to say.
Job well done.
Yeah, thanks. I
I
appreciate
understood
that.
all of that.
Excellent. Well, and that's where we are now. That we don't really have much more other than that.
I mean, this is like the Apple versus Samsung
totally.
dispute,
It just
right?
will never
it's
go
gonna
away.
Take forever.
Mm-hmm. It's going to take forever.
You got two really big companies fighting against each other for intellectual property rights.
I love that Oracle's arguing that Google made $42 billion off of 37 function signature calls. I love that. That's amazing.
Isn't it crazy how much stuff costs? The value of these things? I don't know.
There's lots of money in this world.
No,
it's true.
it is, though. I mean, just here are these APIs.
Well,
they're all worth almost $1 billion.
Well, and that is Oracle's side that it came up with the estimation based on, who knows what numbers they dug up and how they kind of twisted around the logic to make that. Google, different company entirely. Google has argued that APIs can't be copyrighted. It's that whole kind of argument that code is numbers basically, and numbers can't be copyrighted.
Like HTML can't be copyrighted.
Although that's numbers, and I think it's probably falls into the same category. Mm-hmm. They lost that fight on appeal. Now they're hoping that the fair use kind of thing is going to work. And we also talked actually on this show about Swift. Yeah. I think this was like a month ago that there were sources that were saying that Google's looking at Swift, which Apple created initially. Mm-hmm. But that's an open source language that Google's considering that as the kind of next or eventual first class language. Do you think that kind of move would be necessary in the long term, Gina? And what kind of disruption do you think that would cause?
I got to tell you, the first time I heard of this was looking at the rundown earlier today, and I was like, "What?" Mm-hmm. That was my reaction. I was like, "Wait, what?" Yeah. That would blow my mind. But I mean, look, if Java is costing them billions of dollars in lawsuits, and I mean, look, Swift is a much more modern language than Java. I mean, obviously, Google is heavily invested in Java and Android, but I don't think that you can rule anything out. It's open source, and I think Google will probably be really smart about establishing what Apple considers fair use when they start using Swift. But wouldn't it be interesting if we were using the same programming language to write iOS and Android apps? I think that could be really good.
Sounds beautiful.
And I agree, and that could potentially stop the madness of a single platform release of apps. My little pet peeve about, hey, we got a new app that, talk show, that app that everyone was talking about, it's great, and it's iOS only. And so if they're all being written in Swift, maybe it becomes easier to deploy code for Android and iOS at the same time. That'd be awesome. So.
Yeah.
So yes, this has only just begun. It's only just begun.
Sad song.
And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to hear a lot more about this. I suppose we'll see what happens and whether it has a big impact on Google or not. I feel like these things, though, they kind of happen, and then it seems like it's going to be a big deal, and then even when it rules against Google or whatever, we don't really see much change. We probably see it in our pocketbook more than anything. Prices of things just probably go up a little bit, but that kind of goes counter to what we've seen over the past couple of years, where devices are getting less expensive, not more. So who knows what that'll mean in the long run.